My friend Jeremy is making a game, Idols of Torment. He said, can I sponsor a video? I said, yes, I have this ridiculous idea. Did I set out to make the most impractical gaming table? Yes. Let's get back to work. So what you're looking at is piles of insulation foam donated by my wonderful friend Cameron on a concrete base, which weighs about 50 kilos. So inside here is galvanized pipe around a microphone stand, which is embedded into concrete. And that concrete was formed around a mold that my friend Zane and I poured one night a very long time ago. And without much foresight, we cast it on the other side of the building. From top to bottom, this whole foam sculpture was carved with a kitchen knife. The other hero of this is spray foam. And for the longest time, I'd been trying to find a good way of adhering foam together. This is the answer. In some places, I've gone a little bit overboard spraying the spray foam, but I actually like how it sort of blends all the different layers of the foam together. And I like the bubbles and stuff. That makes a really nice texture painted. So I really love the shape of this, which is happening right now. I like that it really hangs over the edge. My sort of goal was to create a nice looking silhouette from every angle. And I think it's good. Because this foam filler will expand, I've added heavy objects in sort of a hope that it will keep it all weighed down and it won't push up the foam too much. I have these distinct memories as a kid going to Games Workshop. It was a really big deal. We had to travel really far to go to Games Workshop. And I remember so vividly this display table that also functioned as a scenario table for Lord of the Rings. I know who will remember this just like me. Lucky.
Hello.
So you remember these display boards, right?
So there was a custom one that they actually made, which was a big Forge World resin piece that went out to a lot of the stores, which was like half of Weathertop.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. And going into that Games Workshop and seeing the Weathertop display is what has inspired me to make this build.
It looks so good, hey? It was like that just transported you into the movie and you were like, I'm gonna buy all of the toy soldiers.
Exactly. Okay, I know this might freak some of you out, but I'm using a blowtorch to melt the surface of the foam. It makes the flat pieces a little more interesting and a bit more organic. I am being very careful not to burn the foam, just melt it. This is wall filler, and I'm experimenting here in the hope I'll get some interesting textures out of it, but also hoping that I can maybe crack it or scratch it up when it's dry for some more rocky effects. To blend the foam surfaces together, I'm using acrylic gap filler that I'm able to manipulate with water and an old brush. I know this sort of looks like I'm mad, but this is me cracking that wall filler. And yes, it's incredibly therapeutic, but also it really did make a great texture for painting on. We're gonna need some terrain, and this board is inspired by Idols of Torment. So we're going dark and gothic, some chapel pieces, some gravestones, all those life and death themes. Now, I'm trying to be careful with this terrain, because in Idols of Torment, you can actually manipulate the terrain in the game, move it and destroy it, that sort of thing. So I'm leaving these pieces baseless to make it easier to maneuver in a very specifically shaped board. I'm trying to save space. Look at that. That is a combination of wood filler, water, and kitty litter. And I'm going to use it to fill in some of these gaps in these terrain pieces and make it look like that it's actually crumbled a bit over time. At least that's the hope. I have no idea if this will work. I think the truth of making stuff is most of the time it's all educated guesses, in all honesty. And that education comes from experiencing using the materials and tools, but how you use them is typically going to be a whole new experience and you don't know if it's going to work. So I think I need to make something, angelic because that's quite on theme with Jeremy's game, Idols of Torment, Black Magic Craft. You know him, you love him. And I had an idea. Typically when I see angelic terrain, I see like cherubs and angels all hacked up and made demonic. Well, I thought, what if we make something demonic, angelic? And I've got an idea. That's a nice base. Wings, obviously. I think these were from a hippogriff. And, of course, my demon prints that I made and cast a while ago. But instead of the head that I would normally use, how about I use one of these interesting skulls that I cast with... You'll get it. You'll get it. Painting time. Now, the art for Idols of Torment is dark. Real dark, but I love painting with color. So this direction is really leaning into that cosmos, otherworldly aesthetic. Lots of blue, red, and purple. And let me tell you, I love just smashing on color. I also picked up some weird effects spray paints too. I'm using a lot of this one in particular where it emulates a granite texture, but the effect on a miniature scale really looks like tiny stones. As well, I'm using some actual tiny stones in the form of this base ready material from Geek Gaming, and I'm adhering it with some very watered down PVA glue. Really, you only need a little bit of glue for it to actually adhere. And if you use too much, you'll end up with a glossy finish or you'll ruin some of that surface texture. Yeah. You just need a little bit. Make your consistency a bit milky. You'll be right. You'll work it out. Pigment powders add a lot more visual complexity to the piece as well, and they sort of tie everything together. Not only are we trying to get variation in color, but also reflectiveness. Terrain time. I'm going for a glowy, ethereal look for all of my terrain. And it's a very simple effect to do, just black and teal and white spray paint, but I think it really, really stands out and breaks up a very busy looking tabletop. Sometimes simple is cool. Now, I know for sure there's going to be wargamers out there very critical of this table. I can list them in my head right now, but I personally am going to love playing skirmish games on this and having epic Dungeons and Dragons, arcane ugly boss fights on it, Warhammer skirmish scenarios, Mordheim, Frostgrave, Idols of Torment. It's a sometimes table though, and it's gonna take some house ruling for some games, but that's the kind of group that I play with. People that love just making things work because it's cool. While it might not be entirely practical, it ends up being 2 foot by 3 foot. Give or take a few bits in there. Yeah, that is a big enough table to play Idols of Torment on. So hopefully this gets Jeremy's tick of approval, and hopefully we'll get to play some games on it together one day. Hello! Oh God, you are the best thing I've ever made. If you want to support me, consider supporting my friends. Jeremy Black Magic Craft is a best friend of mine, and I've got to watch the development of his game, Idols of Torment, for the past year or so. And it makes me so incredibly excited for him, but also the future of wargaming. Games made by creators that have a good understanding of what it means to support and give back to a community. It would mean a lot if you'd go support Jeremy in the same way that Jeremy's always supported me. So, yeah, please go check out Idols of Torment. Bloody love you. Next time, we'll make something even bigger. Maybe.